So this is going to be our second part of Amelia Bedelia Unleashed by Herman Parish, pictures by Lynn Averill. And this is starting out with chapter 5. Crossing Leashes. As Amelia Bedelia headed out of the park toward Maple Street, she ran into the boy and his poodle. Just to be friendly, Amelia Bedelia said, "Nice dog." "Thanks," said the boy. "You've got a lot of nice dogs." Amelia Bedelia's pack of dogs strained like this. She is straining to hold them back. How it's difficult for her to hold all of them back. She strained at their leashes, dragging her over to the poodle. The dogs let out little yips of greeting and approval while they were sniffing and snuffling one another. Soon their leashes were completely tangled up. They were wrapped every which way around Amelia Bedelia's legs. It looked like some dog maypole dance, with Amelia Bedelia playing the part of the pole. "I think if I try to move, I'll probably fall over," said Amelia Bedelia, swaying from side to side. "Then don't move a muscle," said the boy. He let go of his leash, commanded his poodle to sit. It actually sat, and began to untangle Amelia Bedelia. "You must love dogs," he said. "I do," said Amelia Bedelia, "but these aren't mine. I'm helping a friend who walks dogs for a business." "I should hire your friend," said the boy. "I love my dog, but I hate to walk him. Kids always make fun of me." "I saw what happened," said Amelia Bedelia. "I know those guys. Tomorrow at school, I'll tell them to stop it." "No, don't do that," said the boy. "Having a girl come to my rescue would be even worse." "But I could help you," said Amelia Bedelia. "Who are you?" said the boy. "My name is Amelia Bedelia." As soon as she said it, she could tell by the look on his face that he'd heard of her. His eyes lit up and he said, "Hey, I remember you. You were on TV. You got in trouble because of your lemonade stand." "That's me," said Amelia Bedelia. "I'm Charlie," said the boy. "What's your dog's name?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "This is Pierre," said Charlie. Charlie motioned for Pierre to come over and sit in front of Amelia Bedelia. Pierre sat up straight and held out his right paw for her to shake. Amelia Bedelia laughed as she shook Pierre's paw. "What a nice firm paw shake," she said. Amelia Bedelia wasn't sure what to say next, so she asked a question. "I've never seen such a big poodle. Is Pierre an economy size?" "He's a standard poodle," said Charlie. "Gosh," said Amelia Bedelia. "If Pierre is a standard poodle, what does a special poodle look like?" "Standard is just a size," said Charlie. "It means that he's the biggest type of poodle. It's his fancy haircut that makes him look like even more gigantic and kind of silly. It's why I get teased sometimes when I walk him." "I have a great idea," said Amelia Bedelia. "Meet me here tomorrow. I'll walk Pierre, and you can walk these dogs. That way no one will tease you." Amelia Bedelia held out her hand. Charlie smiled as he took it, shook it, and said, "It's a deal. See you tomorrow." Amelia Bedelia walked down Maple Street. The tiny terrier strained at his leash when he spotted a jogger running toward them. The boxer ran to a man hitting a punching bag in his garage. They must be finding where they live at and showing her where to go. The bearded collie belonged to a man with a beard. The husky spotted her owner next. Last but not least was the sweet Maltese. Amelia Bedelia had a lot to think about. As she walked home, she wondered about dogs and blind dates and Charlie and Pierre. Most importantly, she wondered what kind of dog was right for her. Chapter 6, Skates Up. I'll show you that picture too. The next afternoon, Amelia Bedelia's mother looked out the kitchen window. "Uh-oh," she said. "Storm clouds coming. It looks like it's going to rain cats and dogs." "I hope not," said Amelia Bedelia. "I'd have to have a St. Bernard fall on my head." She said, "I would hate to have a St. Bernard fall on my head. Besides, I have to meet Diana and Charlie in the park." "Then take this umbrella," said her mother. Amelia Bedelia shook her head. "That isn't big enough," she said. "It couldn't save me from a falling chihuahua." Don't worry about that, said Amelia Bedelia's father, even if it rains cats and dogs. Do you know the worst thing that can happen? Years of experience warned Amelia Bedelia not to ask, but she did anyway. No, Dad, she said. What's the worst that can happen? I'm glad you asked, said her dad. If it rains cats and dogs, you might step in a poodle. Her father began to chuckle to himself. Amelia Bedelia shuddered involuntarily at the thought of stepping into Pierre. That's the worst joke I've ever heard, she said. Her dad snorted and laughed really loudly. It was so embarrassing. Amelia Bedelia's mother rolled her eyes. I hope you realize, honey, she said, that no one enjoys your jokes more than you do. Silly dad. Amelia Bedelia arrived at the park on time, even though her mom made her drag along a dumb umbrella. She waited for Diana at the bench where they always met. Charlie and Pierre arrived a few minutes later. Hey, said Charlie, where are the dogs? I'm not sure, said Amelia Bedelia. Diana's late. I'll call her later. I can still walk Pierre for you if you want me to. Okay, said Charlie. Amelia Bedelia took Pierre's leash and they began to walk. She told Charlie about her dad's step in a poodle joke. Charlie laughed, and this time she did too. Actually, said Charlie, your dad's right. A long time ago, poodles were trained as hunting dogs. They were retrievers, and they splashed into ponds and through puddles. That's how they got their name. Amelia Bedelia couldn't wait to tell her dad about that. Maybe her dad was smarter than even he thought he was. Up ahead, Amelia Bedelia saw the same bunch of skateboarders Charlie had run into yesterday. They were hanging out right at the top of a long, steep hill. They were exactly where Amelia Bedelia, Charlie, and Pierre were heading. The skateboarders remembered Pierre and Charlie. They started to laugh and hoot. The tall one put his fingers to his mouth to whistle. But Amelia Bedelia didn't give him a chance. She did what she did best. She asked a question. How do you ride one of these things? She hopped onto the deck of a skateboard and wobbled back and forth. Whoa, she yelled, waving her arms for balance with an umbrella in one hand and Pierre's leash in the other. It's super easy, said one of the guys. Just head downhill and lean from side to side like riding a wave on a surfboard. I don't think it's that easy. Suddenly, a squirrel bounded by, hopping down the sidewalk. Pierre took off after that squirrel like a rocket. The chase was on. Double whoa, yelled Amelia Bedelia. She squatted down to keep her balance as Pierre pulled her behind him. Pierre may have looked slightly silly with his groomed and puffy coat, but under those fluffy pom-poms were strong, rippling muscles. He pulled Amelia Bedelia along with no trouble at all. The squirrel raced ahead, Pierre barking happily, chased the squirrel, and zipping behind them was Amelia Bedelia. Stop, stop, please stop, she hollered all the way down the hill. The long, steep sidewalk ended at a large circular fountain with a round pool that was deep enough for wading. In the center was a statue of a mermaid that spit water into the sky. The mermaid reminded Amelia Bedelia of her mom spitting out her water at the dinner table. Even though she was scared, Amelia Bedelia began to giggle. Then she stopped. Amelia Bedelia was going so fast she couldn't jump off. She wished her mom could help her now. If she fell, she'd be one giant scab. She wished she'd asked that skateboarder another question. How do you stop? Oh, goodness, what is going to happen? The squirrel zigzagged furiously, but kept heading for the fountain with Pierre hot on his trail and Amelia Bedelia holding on for dear life. She leaned backwards, forwards, from side to side, twisting and turning to keep her balance. Amelia Bedelia heard shouting. She looked over her shoulder and saw Charlie. He was leading the pack of skateboarders who were cheering her on. Look at her! She's carving like an expert! What a natural! She'll get hurt, yelled Charlie. Just then the squirrel darted to the left. So did Pierre, yanking the leash out of Amelia Bedelia's hand. Now she was headed straight for the fountain. Amelia Bedelia leaned back, Pop went her umbrella as it opened behind her and began to slow her down. The front wheel of the skateboard jumped up onto the rim of the fountain. The spitting mermaid was the last thing Amelia Bedelia saw before she shut her eyes. Charlie and the skateboarder saw the front end of the skateboard just clear the edge of the fountain. Amelia Bedelia leaned forward toward the mermaid statue to catch her balance. Then she leaned backwards as far as she could. She rode the rim of the fountain in a complete, perfect circle. By the time she came around to where she had started, the skateboard had run out of steam. Amelia Bedelia jumped to the ground. The skateboarders and Charlie stood stunned in silence. They all let out their huge whoop and raced towards her. Charlie was the first to reach Amelia Bedelia. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I guess so." "Yep," she said. The skateboarders went wild. They hoisted Amelia Bedelia onto their shoulders and carried her around and around the fountain. "You're amazing!" "What a set of moves! How did you do that? Teach us how to ride like that. Like now?" Amelia Bedelia laughed. "Okay, but maybe some other day," she said. "We won't put you down until you promise," said the guys. "I promise," said Amelia Bedelia. But then she panicked. "Where's Pierre?" Charlie pointed at a tree. Pierre was leaping up on the trunk and barking from a high branch. A chattering squirrel hurled nuts at Peter's head. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie ran over and grabbed Pierre's leash. "That was cool, Amelia Bedelia," said Charlie. It was amazing that you hung onto Pierre's leash. Thanks." "No problem," said Amelia Bedelia. "I know," said Charlie. "Let's go to Pete's Diner to celebrate. Today, you can get 2 hot fudge sundaes for the price of 1. "Great," said Amelia Bedelia. She hoped her knees would stop shaking by the time they got there. Oh, man. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie spent the rest of the afternoon at Pete's. Charlie told her all about Pierre and poodles. Amelia Bedelia learned that Charlie's mom was passionate about poodles, but that Pierre was Charlie's responsibility. He fed Pierre and walked Pierre and even groomed and bathed Pierre. "My mom thinks I do a great job," Charlie said. "She even entered Pierre in that big dog show on Saturday night. She sure will win a first prize." "You will," said Amelia Bedelia. "Pierre is amazing." Kaboom! Went a clap of thunder. It began to rain cats and dogs. Poor Pierre was outside getting soaked. Amelia Bedelia pleaded with Pete until he let Pierre come inside. Just this once. Charlie parked Pierre under the table in their booth. "Keep him quiet and out of the way," said Pete. "I don't want anyone to step in a poodle." From under their table, Pierre let out a huge yawn. It was a long time before Amelia Bedelia and Charlie could stop giggling. So silly, the dog is under the table in there. Chapter 7, Dog Love. It says puppy love, and they crossed it off. Dog love. The very next day, Amelia Bedelia was riding her bike near town when she heard someone call her name. "Amelia Bedelia, over here!" Diane had 10 dogs attached to one long leash. She was heading to the park, so Amelia Bedelia rode along beside her. "I am so glad to see you," said Amelia Bedelia. "Was your blind date fun?" "It was perfect," said Diana. "His name is Eric, and he adores dogs. I've been taking all of the dogs I walk to him for grooming. Just look at what a wonderful job he does." Amelia Bedelia agreed that the dogs had never looked better or happier. They looked as though they felt important. "Anything new with you?" asked Diana. "Lots," said Amelia Bedelia. She told her all about Pierre, skateboarding, and her afternoon at Pete's Diner with Charlie. "What an adventure," said Diana. "And a little puppy love never hurt anyone." "Pierre is not a little puppy," said Amelia Bedelia. "He's a big dog." When they got to the park, Amelia Bedelia begged to walk the dogs for Diana. "Please," said Amelia Bedelia, "I need to decide what kind I want." Thanks, said Diana, handing her the leash. These pups are pussycats, but be alert. Before Amelia Bedelia could ask how dogs could be cats, Charlie appeared with Pierre. Amelia Bedelia introduced him to Diana. Then they headed off. There were no skateboarders, but plenty of squirrels, so Charlie hung on to Pierre and Amelia Bedelia watched her pack like a hawk. Your dogs look great, said Charlie. Don't they? Said Amelia Bedelia. Diana has them groomed. They walked on, but Amelia Bedelia could tell that something was bothering Charlie because he kept fidgeting. Finally, she asked, What's wrong? Are you worried about something? I am, Charlie said. I'm super nervous about the dog show on Saturday night. I want Pierre to look perfect. Hey, said Amelia Bedelia, maybe Diane's friend, Eric, can groom Pierre too. Thanks, said Charlie, but my mom wants me to do it. Okay, said Amelia Bedelia. Can I help you, though? Well, said Charlie, I need to give Pierre a bath on Saturday morning. It's easier with two people, and my mom's super busy. Would you be able to help me? Sure, said Amelia Bedelia. I need to ask my parents first, but I'm sure they'll let me. I'll call you. After Charlie and Pierre headed home, Amelia Bedelia decided to give the dogs an extra long walk. She was exhausted by the time she got them back to Diana. She was way too tired to ride her bike all the way home. She called her father and asked him to come pick her up. When her dad arrived, he put her bike in the trunk while she reclined her seat, let out an enormous yawn, and shut her eyes. You're exhausted, said her dad. Are you dog tired or just tired of dogs? Both, she said. Today was a real drag. You didn't have fun, he said. Oh, I had fun, said Amelia Bedelia. But with 10 dogs, I was the one who got walked. They dragged me here and dragged me there. It was just one long drag. Amelia Bedelia's dad laughed. 10 dogs, he said. What kind were they? Amelia Bedelia counted them off. There was a Belgian sheepdog right here. There was an Irish setter, like that one right there. A German shepherd, he's down here at the bottom. And then a Scottish terrier, right there. A Norwegian elk hound, right there. An Italian hound, that's that little tiny one right up there. And a Welsh corgi, which is this little one right there. Super cute. What a group, said her dad. It sounds like you took most of Europe for a walk. Wait a second, said Amelia Bedelia. I forgot all about the Dane. Wow, said her father. A Great Dane? He was good, said Amelia Bedelia. Not really great. He misbehaves a lot. Diana says that he eats as much as a lion cub. Did you have any trouble besides the dragging? Asked her dad. A little, said Amelia Bedelia. I let two dogs play, and I lost sight of them for a couple of minutes. Did you spot them? He asked. One was already spotted, said Amelia Bedelia. That was the Dalmatian. What was the other one? Asked her dad. A Labrador, said Amelia Bedelia. Retriever? Asked her dad. Yep, said Amelia Bedelia. I found her. There's that Dalmatian. It's down there. And the other Labrador Retriever is up here at the top of the page. Amelia Bedelia rolled down her window. She hung her head out to let the cool wind blow through her hair. She liked the sound it made as it swirled past her ears. She said, I see why dogs love to do this. Wait a second, said her dad. You're not turning into a dog, are you? Maybe you've been hanging out with them too much. Instead of that necklace you want for your birthday, we might give you a flea collar instead. Oh, Daddy, said Amelia Bedelia as they drove into their driveway. When they got inside, she told her mother about her day and about Charlie and his poodle, Pierre. I adore poodles, said Amelia Bedelia's mother. Is Pierre a cute little toy poodle? Mom, said Amelia Bedelia. He is a real dog. He doesn't need batteries at all." Then Amelia Bedelia remembered to tell her parents what Charlie had said about poodles and how they got their name from puddles. "Aha!" said her father. "That's what we call truth in jest. But what I want to know is, did Charlie laugh at my joke about stepping in a poodle?" "A lot," said Amelia Bedelia. "This Charlie kid is obviously a genius," said her dad. After that, it was easy for Amelia Bedelia to get permission to go over to Charlie's house. "You know what?" said her dad. "Your mom and I would love to see the dog show, too. We haven't been in years." "You bet," said her mom. "It's a plan." Chapter 8. 2-bit shave and a haircut. The next day was Saturday, the day of the dog show. Amelia Bedelia rode her bike over to Charlie's house. She was excited to help Charlie give Pierre a bath. "Charlie," said his mother, "since Amelia Bedelia is here to help you, I'm going to run some quick errands. I'll get Pierre's bath ready for you before I go." Soon Pierre was standing in a deep tub full of warm water and suds. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie rolled up their sleeves and scrubbed Pierre in the soapy water. Pierre loved getting shampooed, and Amelia Bedelia and Charlie managed to stay pretty dry until it was time to dry Pierre. Both Amelia Bedelia and Charlie could see it coming. It was like those weather maps on TV that show an approaching hurricane. They were in the storm's path and were going to get soaked. Sure enough, Pierre let them have it. After 1 second of shaking, they were drenched. The only thing they could do was holler and shriek and dance around and laugh a lot. "Charlie," yelled Amelia Bedelia, "you look like you just ran through 100 sprinklers for an hour. You look like you fell into the world's biggest swimming pool," yelled yelled Charlie. Then, starting with his head and moving down to his rear end, Pierre shook himself one last time, just to be sure they were totally soaked. Still laughing, Amelia Bedelia and Charlie led Pierre out to the back deck. They worked in the sunshine, squirting conditioner into Pierre's coat and rubbing it in with their fingers. "Let's start brushing him," said Charlie. "Fun," said Amelia Bedelia. She grabbed a nearby brush from a dustpan. When she began to brush Pierre with it, Charlie laughed. So silly. "Not that kind of brush," he said. "You'll get him dirty again. Use one of those special dog brushes." Amelia Bedelia loved brushing Pierre. "He's going to be beautiful," she said. "You mean handsome," said Charlie. Once Pierre's hair was tangle-free, Charlie showed Amelia Bedelia how to trim his coat with the electric clippers. Charlie was trimming stray hairs from Pierre's fluffy chest when disaster struck. A squirrel ran across the deck. Pierre took off after him like a shot. He ran right over to Charlie, who was still holding the whirling clippers. Charlie hit the deck. "No, Pierre," he shouted. "Heel! Wait, come back. If you get dirty, you'll have to take another bath." Pierre was an obedient dog, and besides, the squirrel had already scrambled up a tree. Pierre trotted back to Charlie and sat down. That's when Amelia Bedelia noticed a long strip of fluffy white fur on the deck. "Hey, Charlie, where did this come from?" she asked. There was only one place it could have come from, Pierre's beautiful prize-winning coat. Charlie kneeled in front of Pierre. "Uh-oh," he said. "Oh, no." It looked as though a lawnmower had cut a swath through a pretty flower bed. "Oh, boy," said Charlie. "Boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. This is not good. Not good at all." He took the fluffy patch of hair from Amelia Bedelia and tried to push it back into place. It didn't work. "We need tape or something," said Amelia Bedelia, "or paste, or a glue stick." They tried everything. Nothing worked. "Boy, oh boy," said Charlie. "I'm doomed." Pierre sat patiently. Perhaps he realized that he was partly to blame. But now, as he watched a puff of fur that used to be his beautiful pom-pom blow across the deck like a tiny tumbleweed, the situation began to sink into him, too. Amelia Bedelia thought that if ever an animal were going to speak, it would be now. Pierre cocked his head and stared directly at them. His eyes said, "You've got to be kidding me. I trusted you to take care of me, and this happens." Woof. Charlie started pacing back and forth across the deck, repeating, "Boy, oh boy," and tugging at his own hair. "I know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Let's look in the kitchen. There's probably something in there that would work." They searched through the kitchen drawers until Amelia Bedelia found some twisty ties. She headed back to the deck to try them on Pierre, while Charlie kept looking for possible solutions. "Charlie!" yelled Amelia Bedelia. "Your problem is gone!" "Great!" Charlie called back. "Do the twisty ties work?" "I don't know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Pierre is gone. He vanished." Look at that puppy. He just got his hair cut right off of him. Oh, goodness. Oh, and now we're at chapter 9, Dog Gone. And I'm going to stop right there, so you'll have to listen to the next video recording. This is getting so exciting. I can't wait to see what happens next.